Well, that was music from John Williams' fabulous score for the film Catch Me If You Can. The saxophone soloist of note is the marvelous Branford Marsalis. And that piece will be part of a very diverse program of great music this Friday, June 9th, tomorrow, when the great Branford Marsalis joins the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra at the Jack Singer Concert Hall. And I am thrilled beyond measure to say that Maestro Marsalis joins us on CKUA right now. Branford Marsalis, it is so awesome to have you here with us. Thanks for making some time to join us here on CKUA.
Thanks, Grant.
So, I've got a zillion questions for you, but I'll try to keep it to the matter at hand this Friday. Got to ask you, that John Williams music you'll be performing, so captivating. What is it that you enjoy about this music from Catch Me If You Can?
A lot of contemporary music is very, very technically complicated, and there's joy in that as a saxophone player. But a lot of them don't really have that quality that an earlier century of music had, where they had these very catchy melodies to accompany all the harmonic and rhythmic complexity for the traditional listener to, as Darius Milhaud said, engage with a melody so infectious that the everyman wants to put it in his pocket and take it home with him.
I know that it's been a kind of a labor of love for you to turn back to classical music, which in some ways, I guess, is part of what your foundation was when you were a little kid. When did you sort of shore up that rediscovery and that joy of embracing serious music of many different kinds and from through the ages?
It was one of these things where I was in my early 40s and I realized that a lot of my saxophone heroes, as they aged, their tones and their technique aged along with them. I was listening to a recording of an older jazz guy, Jimmy Heath, I think it was, and he was in his 70s, and he sounded like he was in his 70s, and that he hadn't practiced in a long time. Because when you're good at what you do, it's hard to force yourself to continue to practice a thing you're already good at. Mm-hmm. So one of the glaring exceptions was classical music, because I heard Arthur Rubinstein's 90th birthday concert a day later, and I couldn't believe he was 90, and I couldn't believe how he sounded. And they were talking about him saying, he practices every day. And non-classical music, regardless of genre, is kind of about a certain level of personal expression. You find your own comfort zone in it, whether it's singer-songwriter stuff or jazz or blues or whatever it is. You find a thing you're really good at, and you use that to make the song successful. Well, as you get older, you need to find other things to push you. And it was clear to me from that listening experience in a matter of days that I needed to go back and get a classical teacher, who I started studying with Harvey Patel, and he promptly ripped apart my saxophone playing within 10 minutes of me being in the lesson. And that was what I really needed, somebody to not see my weaknesses as a strength, but see them as actual weaknesses and give me methodology to fix the weaknesses. The concert touring part, it was a glorious accident. The Orpheus Chamber Orchestra found out that I was studying, so they invited me to play, and I didn't play very well because it's really hard to do. Other orchestras called me in. I said, look, I'm not very good right now, but if you give me a shot, I'll keep getting better. And that's been the whole issue for me, or the whole idea for me, is to use these concerts to continually improve. And it's been great for me.
Wow, that's incredibly inspirational to hear your devotion to continuing to grow as an expressive artist. That's really amazing, and it's wonderful that we get a chance to share in this coming up on Friday. What a great program this is. I need to ask about, of course, one of the pieces is Ravel's famed Bolero, which is just like one of those pieces that just pops out from the classical genre. Like, everybody knows it, whether they realize it or not. There's probably a handful of classics in any genre like that, and that certainly would be one, I think it's fair to say, in the classical world. What do you think it is that makes this piece continue to fascinate and to live on and transcend, time and genre like this?
It essentially is a pop song. It has a bass line that repeats. It has a snare drum part that repeats. All of the parts in the middle, bum, ba-ba-da-bum, ba-ba-da-bum, bum, bum, ba-ba-da-bum, ba-ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum. It repeats and repeats and repeats, and the melody repeats. And it is that repetition that creates a groove. And it's a very infectious groove. And it gives regular listeners who aren't really schooled in music and don't have the kind of facilities orally, the oral facilities to hear when all of these changes and modulations are going. It's one of these pieces where you can tap your foot and you can know exactly where you are. When you think about popular music, that is ultimately its appeal, is its repetition.
Well, let's get into that groove right now. And I mean, this is a very, very different context, but there was a fabulous recording that you made about a decade ago of the music from Ravel's Bolero, an interpretation by the great Angelique Kidjo. And I'd love to be able to spin this for folks right now. Could you set this up for us? Oh, really? How could you? It's so amazing. Yeah. Yeah. What do you like?
Fun.
Yeah. What do you recollect about this?
Well, she told me we were doing it. I said, okay, I want to hear if this works or not. And because it was like a television performance.
Yeah.
It wasn't, if I remember correctly, it wasn't a studio recording. It was a television performance that they turned into a recording. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I'll be damned, it works. So, but I don't know whose idea it was, but it was a great idea. I don't know if it was Angelique's idea. Maybe it was, but I'm not really sure. But yeah, I forgot all about that.
Well, hey, let's do it right now. Thank you so much for being here and doing this, and couldn't be more excited for the upcoming concert on Friday when you perform with the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra.
Thanks, Grant. Looking forward to it.
The great Branford Marsalis, and here he is alongside Angelique Kidjo from her live album Spirit Rising. Branford Marsalis appears as a special guest soloist with the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra tomorrow, Friday, June 9th at the Jack Singer Concert Hall. Details available at calgaryphil.com, and a whole lot more about the wondrous world of Branford Marsalis can be had at his website, brandfordmarsalis.com.